If you need to set up a web environment for Linux, this is the video series for you. If you need to set it up in Windows or Mac, go ahead and watch the previous videos instead. Setting up an environment in Linux is a little bit more involved because there's not an application quite like Dev Desktop that will install the full web environment plus Drupal and take care of all of the configuration for you. That said, we can get pretty close with something called XAMPP and Bitnami. So what we'll do first is set up a stack installer called XAMPP, and then we'll layer a Bitnami module on top of that to install a Drupal installation. And then, because Bitnami only allows you to have one Drupal installation at a time, we're going to explore how to create additional websites using XAMPP. And that will expose you to some of what's happening behind the scenes when you use full stack installers like Dev Desktop. So what I'm going to do is do a search for download XAMPP. And I'll click on this first link, which is apachefriends.org/download.html. And we're going to scroll down to the Linux section down here. And there are 3 different editions depending on which version of PHP you need. We're going to go ahead and download the 5.6 one. And I'm going to download it for 64-bit. I'll click OK to save the file. Once it's downloaded, I'm going to navigate to the directory where it was downloaded. And in order to run this, we're going to need to change the file permissions. So I'm going to open up a terminal screen. To change permissions, I need to be a super user. So I'm going to type in sudo-i and enter my password. And then to change the permissions, I'm going to use the chmod command, chmod. I'm going to change it to 755. I'm going to add a space, and then I'm going to drag this file name over and hit enter. And now to run the file, we're just going to drag it over to the command line and hit enter. This will open up the setup for XAMPP. I'm going to click next. We'll leave both of these checked and click next. We'll click next again. I'm going to uncheck this so it doesn't open a browser window, and I'll click next. Next one more time. We'll leave Launch XAMPP checked and click Finish. And here we are right now in the manager. The manager is useful to get around, but it's not absolutely necessary. If you click Go to Application, it will take you to localhost/dashboard, and you can get back here at any time by simply going to localhost. From here, you can access any applications that have been installed through Bitnami. We'll install Drupal that way in a moment. And you can get to phpMyAdmin, which is the database manager. I'm going to jump back over to the manager. If you happen to close this, you can find it again by going to the File Explorer, and we'll go to Computer, Opt, LAMP, and then the Manager Linux x64 Run. Now, if you're having trouble opening this up by double-clicking, part of this has to do with not having proper permissions. So what we can do instead is open up a File Explorer or Nautilus window with the sudo user enabled. So I'm going to jump back over to terminal, and I'll press Ctrl-C to stop the current process. And I'm going to clear out the back scroll. And I'm going to type in sudo nautilus. And this will open up a new File Explorer. And if we go to Computer, Opt, LAMP, and scroll down and open up the Manager Linux Run here, we'll see the manager open up. Now, one thing to note about the manager is that by closing it and opening it, it doesn't start and stop the web application stack. If we go to Manage Servers, you can see that Apache Web Server is still running. In order to start and stop these services, we can use this interface here to start and stop individual services or them all, or we can use the command line. If we use the command line, it will be a bit quicker. So let me show you how to do that, and we'll end up turning on the MySQL database service at the same time. So I'm going to reorganize things a little bit here and close out our original user's Nautilus window. And I'm going to open up a new terminal window. And what we want to run is sudo, and then we'll type /opt/lamp/lamp, and then what we want to do with it. So we can either start, stop, or restart. I'm going to restart, which will stop all of the currently running services, and then start them all up again. Now, it might take a minute for the manager to update its status here, but once it does, you'll see that we have all 3 of these services running. So at this point, we have a full stack running, and we can actually start playing in the root directory of the website. To do this, we want to go to opt, lamp, and then open up the htdocs folder. And this right here is what we're seeing when we're going to localhost in the browser. And we can test this out by creating a new file here. Depending on what profile you're logged in as, you might be able to right-click and select New Document. But if not, we can do that from the command line. In this new terminal window, I'm going to log in as the sudo user, and then I'll navigate to this directory by typing cd space and then dragging over this htdocs and hitting enter, Then we'll type touch and we'll create a new file called test.php and enter. Now over here we see our file. I'll open it up and let's just type out some text. Hello there world. We'll save this and we'll go back to the browser, and here in localhost we'll remove the applications.html part and we'll add test.php and hit enter. And here's our text. So at this point we have a functional working web directory, and so from here you can follow along with any of the videos that don't require Drupal but still require a web stack. Now most of the time if you have multiple web projects going, you'll want the entire file system to be standalone, and we'll look at how to set up completely separate sites with unique domains after we walk through the process of installing Drupal with Bitnami.